Hello everybody, welcome to Live Scribbles with Jonathan. You can check out my website and my work at jonathanrector.com. And it's the start of a brand new month. And what month is today? What month is today? What month is it now? December, obviously. So, what does that mean? Well, it means a couple of things. First, it means what today's show is going to be, which is a critique show. This is something we've started for the last, what has it been now, guys? Like 2, 3 months? And you guys seem to really dig it. I enjoy it. It's time for me that I get to like break away from doing some my own drawing, let's just say, and if I'm able to help you guys out, trust me, it's an honor on my side as well. What else does it mean? Well, it also means that, and I'm just going to do a little bit of plug in here, so I know some of you guys don't like it, but that's cool. It's the way it's going to have to be. But if you guys are patron supporters of mine, I just want to make a quick little post here for it. So every month, if you're not familiar how Patreon works, Patreon you can support people, artists, creators of content that you enjoy, and sometimes there's rewards or things that you get for additional things that you get to help support your favorite creators. So one of the things that I like to do is at the end of the month, I'll do a sketch for somebody, a random Patreon subscriber. Doesn't matter what your monetary donation is, you always get entered into the draw, sort of like a raffle. And then at the end of the month, I'll draw up a picture. It's on Bristol, like on the back of a comic art board for those of you that buy floppy comics. So it's on Bristol there, and then I just reach out to you on Patreon and mail it your way, all for just it's a way for me to say thanks and sort of gets me, I get to draw my own kind of stuff. So this right here, I posted up yesterday, finished it up. It's Gildas from Castle Dracula, story we will eventually get to. Promise you guys that. That was a blast. Had a huge, huge feeling of like happiness doing it. And I know that might sound weird, but I recently just read an article, and I forget the artist. Might be Jamal, I believe it is. And I know it's gone around a little bit since I think a couple days ago. Basically, what he was talking about was just making his own characters and things like that. I won't go into that today. We got way too much to do. However, what he was talking about is something I'm thinking of heavily doing this year. Well, in 2016, starting now, which is if I'm ever making my own stuff, my own, like if I'm going to go to any more, there's no more cons this year, but next year, any conventions I go to, this is a great example. Anything I give out that I want to do, I'm going to make it just my characters. That way I can help build the identity of these characters up in the public eye, so that people hopefully will start to understand and know who these characters are and build them that way, as opposed to just doing like here's a Spider-Man, here's a Wolverine, and a Batman. Not that I don't like doing those. If people ask specifically for that, of course, I would accommodate that. However, it's just if you guys haven't read the article, just go on my Facebook. I did post a link on there. I did share it as well. And the last thing here, I just wanted to show. Let me just close this up. We don't need to see it anymore. And there's just a link to my Instagram. I shouldn't have any audio playing or anything, so I'll just hit play when we're going here. You guys may have seen it or not, but I recently just attended a local convention here in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. It's every end of November. It's called the Windsor Christmas Convention, and I believe this was the fourth one. And I just wanted to have something else going on at the show besides just selling prints and commissions. So what I did is I put together a 40-page sketchbook, which you can see right now that I'm playing a quick little video that I made on Instagram. And I'll be having that. I'm trying, if not Friday this weekend. I definitely want to have it. I do have some left over, and I will be making some more. So if you guys are interested, I will be making them available online to purchase. So you guys can stay tuned to that. I'll also be releasing a video of me going through it, similar to how I did my old art book. I'm a big believer of if there's something I'm asking people to buy, I would like to show you what's in it. I don't like buying art books specifically where there's surprises. So we can go into that if you guys are into that. And actually, it did very well at the convention. I was very happy about that. It was something I was like, I'm not sure, if people know who I am and they like my art, then maybe they would like it. But like the average person they're just getting used to me and stuff. Who knows, right? That's going on like that. So again, thank you guys, everybody that's in the chat room. We are going to get started right away here. I might run a little bit longer tonight, just sort of like what we did last week as well, just because there's a couple here people that sent me private images because I won't be able to make it to the show tonight. So I want to start those ones first. But please, everybody that's in the chat as well, get ready. And what I'll do is when I just throw out their call to you guys, please just put your link. And as well, please put in all capitals what it is you're looking for help with. It just helps round the discussion and what we're drawing going forward. Okay, so these two here, the first that we're starting with, unfortunately, are falling into that. There was no instruction given. It was just an image, and could you please, hook me up? So this one here is by Felix. I'm gonna butcher your last name, buddy, and I apologize. Figuria. It's a very awesome sounding last name, and unfortunately, I can't speak it. So what we're going to do is just how we normally do it. I do like to start with a disclaimer that any of this, you might call it badgering, real talk is what I like to call it. I'm just saying there, so I'm not cushioning the advice that I'm giving, and the ideology behind what I'm trying to help with is from my perspective. So by all means, take it all how you will. If I'm totally full of crap, that's cool. Just disregard everything I'm saying, or take bits and pieces, hopefully, that I'll be able to help you out with, and we can move on with that. And as well, if this is your first time tonight and you're going to put some artwork in here, don't be shy. Anybody that has something that they want to share, I can guarantee you 100% that you're not the only one that has that problem or is looking for a solution. Other people that are going to watch these videos later in the future, they probably have it as well. So by you being bold and brave tonight, and I like to say that because sometimes people get a little whatever about putting out their art, but please share, and it'll help everybody as we go. Okay? So, we're going to start tonight here first with Felix. And again, there was no constraints on like what is this, what do I need help with and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and just attack it mostly on just what we see. Okay? So first impressions. Let's just start. Let's make a little note on the side. Some things that just jump out at me that might be a little, whatever. So the first that I can see is lack of form, and we'll go into each one of those as well. Lack of perspective. And what else do we got here? And I think that'll be fine. I'm not going to go too crazy with them. Some of your lighting is a quick one we can talk to. Something that I would like to remind everybody, and this is some old school tech that I've always heard, and I've always tried to use it, which is never make a highlight white and never make a shadow black. What it does is it flattens your art and it makes it look less than. If you're going to put the amount of time into making your art look nice, try to put, it's hard because there's a lot of work, but try to have a little bit more respect when it comes to your art so that you try to understand why. And I'm going to do a really quick example. I'm just going to quickly draw over his face here. I'm not trying to draw it any better or any different. I just want to show you what I mean with just coloring his face in, okay? And I'm going to show you why. And this is for everybody as well. I know not everybody likes the color and all that stuff. We'll give him a funky haircut. That's cool. If I can show you something here that you'll remember forever, great. Then we're good. So what I'll do is I have the line art there. Now I'm going to turn off my adjustment layers. Whoops. Turn that off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm still going to pick the same color you have, right? And if you look over at the wheel here, the color wheel, we start off with like this very light blue, and then it starts to go into a teal down here. But what's happening is if you look at this slider here, and this is Manga Studio 5 as well, but you can get stuff like this for Photoshop. When you click in the shadow, all that's happening is it's just going down and dark, which it should. But the problem is that there's no hue change. Like, it's not changing color. And I'm going to show you just really quickly a quick way of doing this stuff. And this is one way of coloring. I am trying to address a bunch of things with this. However, I've seen some wild stuff where people are like, oh, we'll just make shadows gray instead of actually putting a color in there and all that cool stuff. So there's lots of ways around this, but I'm just going to try to throw something in here so that you can always at least remember this, like John told me to do this sort of thing, and hopefully give you a little bit more of a, like a jump start, we'll say. So let me just move this over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it right beside it so you can see what's going on here, okay? And we're going to lock that so I can draw outside of it. So the first thing we're going to do is shadows. I always like doing shadow first as opposed to light just works better for me. So what I'm going to do is, let me make this bigger here so we can kind of see what's going on. Where's the window? There we go. So the first thing to do is, we've got this very bright blue. I would recommend starting around somewhere around here, like in the middle. It just gives your shadows more range and your highlights more range. I find a lot of people, myself included, and I'm getting better because I have been doing this for a few years now at my day job, which requires color. So I've had to put in some study on the side to try to understand this stuff, to wrap it around my head. Because for me, is what I think a lot of people do is, you always like to start up here. It's like we always go from this side to this side to this side. This is usually what most people stay in when they're coloring. Nobody ever goes in the middle down here, or how like dark they go down right here, right? And there's so much. Once you start going in there, oh, it's playtime, okay? But we're not going to do that. We're just going to stick with what we have. So if we're going to go into the shadows, first thing we do is we need to go darker, which you did. If you look into your shadows, it does go down. I'm actually going to keep it in the same spot. I'm just going to show you what happens when we shift values here, right? So now you need to ask yourself the situation your character's in. Are they warm? Are they cool? Where are they? That'll affect the direction we're going to actually move this slider. However, to make it simple, I usually always default down to shadows being into the cooler range. Usually my shadows tend to somehow find their way back to like a blue or purple. Okay, so if that's the case, we're going to make it darker like we did, and we're just going to shift this way. Okay, and I'm going to put the shadows pretty similar to what you did. And I'm hoping you can see right away how much just that blue, how much more that looks, I don't even want to say better, but it has a definite feel of, what's a good word I want to use here? It definitely has a feeling of range. Like there's more going on than what's actually happening in this picture. Okay. Now for the highlights, we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to default back to the same color here. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to start going towards white. I'm not going to go to white like you did over here, because what that does is, I don't care what your light source is, if it's white, it's going to just get drowned out. So we'll just go like about halfway. That way it's a nice highlight, right? And even if I just colored with that blue, as you can see, it's not even that crazy. It's just a very subtle highlight, right? But what we're going to do is we're going to go in the opposite direction we want in the shadows. So we're going to start going this way. And what that does is, even though this is green, and it might feel weird at first, it's actually much brighter than the blue that we're using. Okay, and this is where you can be conscious of where you're going, right? Like how far up you want to go, and stuff like that. Because like if you do start going up into like even the yellows, we'll say, right? Let's just undo those, and we'll just start drawing yellow. Like it's a radical change into what's going on for sure. All right. Now the last thing I'm going to do here is I just want to show you one last step right here. So if I was drawing this guy, right? Let's start off with what you had. I'd start in around here. I'm just going to show you, right? So he might seem darker, which is cool. Now what happens is I don't have to go as drastic with the shadow, okay? This is very subtle. Okay, and you can see there's still some range going on in there. That, let me just zoom in just a little extra so you guys can see. There's still range in there to show there's shadow, and look how much. Let's use the eyedropper to see how much we've actually jumped around. So there's where we started. That's where we ended. It's not jumping that much at all. And that's actually very huge. You know what I mean? Like our range didn't change that much. You can even go down if you wanted it darker, if you wanted to get like that extreme shadow that you kind of had there as well. Okay, now what this does is, our last step is the highlight. Look at all this room, and this is one thing I think a lot of people unfortunately go through, is when they want highlights, you go to white because that's the brightest, that's the presence of all color, that is the single brightest thing. However, when you start way up here in something that's very saturated, it pulls away. The only way you have to go is closer to white, which tends to flatten things out, which is why all this middle area is a playground that it does take a while, and for you to like sort of see in a different way and see in your mind's eye, and as you play, where it's like, okay, everything, even Super Mario Brothers, very bright colors, it's not all jacked way up here, okay? You need some room. You need to be able to, your mid-tone, the original color you put down, needs to hopefully be around, somewhere around here, so that you've got more range to work with, right? So let's do our highlight real quick. So click on there, and I'm going to go up a little bit, and I'm just going to go up a little bit this way. And as you can tell, we're going closer towards the white, right? And let's get our highlight in there. Can you see that? Like, look how much range we have now. Hell, you could even go even more. Let's go a little bit more. And you can even go more. Right? And these are like drastic, but this is huge shades of just going from, look at this, from blue to green. And it starts to look white. And I have not used white at all, but it starts to look like white. Okay? So if you guys are into coloring, I highly recommend trying this this method out, at least in the thought process of coloring. Now, just to bring it back here, because I'd like to keep these, it's so tricky. I want to jam through a bunch of these with you guys. All right, so let's get that back to blue. Oh, actually, let's bring it back. Let's take a look here. So what did we have? What did we write down? So we had a lack of form and a lack of perspective. Now, the reason I say this is if you actually look at the foot you have here, that is in a much better place than where his foot is right now. And the way his body is, like that back leg, doesn't make any sense. This sort of looks like an action figure, just twisted and making it look like they're running. Okay, and just to prove it, we're going to do what I always like to do, which is the cylinders very quickly so that we can see. And I do this just to point out that I don't think a lot of you guys and girls, when you're doing this, you don't do your forms or your cylinders. And not that you have to do cylinders, but the form doesn't make sense. Okay, so I'm trying to draw this in like how I would break down a body, just so you guys can sort of see like what's going on. So we got our chest, our collarbone. This is great, awesome. This is awesome angle. Then all of a sudden, we've got the hips going like this, which is cool. But even what you have right here, where the ribs go this way, I'm just going to draw a line from the middle of what you've already drawn to the middle of the ribs, because there's a middle line that goes up to your belly button all the way up, right? It separates your abs. So you got to twist like this, which is cool. And then we got some lines coming here, some lines coming here. And these lines that I'm putting in that you have already, I already know that those are just filler lines because those don't make sense. And we'll show you why. So we got his he actually doesn't have an ass at all, or a butt at all, and it goes right into this thigh. And this is how you can tell this hasn't been done, because you'll see a situation like this right here where if there's no bum, right, look how it starts thin and then it gets thicker up here, which is fine for shortened figures and stuff. However, in this situation, the lack of it is causing a really, really big issue here. And the foot starts kind of getting a little weird as well. Okay, so just get your cylinder there. Now this is how you can. This is where I like to call it the action figure, because all of a sudden the leg is back here, and I don't know where it's connected here at all. I don't know where that is. And then the leg is back here like this. Now the upper body is a little better. It's a better improvement, and I do find most people's upper bodies tend to be better than their legs. You've done an excellent job here of where you got your shoulders. I try to teach people this, or tell people this as well, where it's like, get the I apologize if you can hear my phone in the background, but the shoulders, get them off of the body. They're not in here. Don't draw your shoulders here. They're off the body, which is excellent, what you got going on here. But the problem we've got is, if you look, this hand is the same size as this hand. And if this was foreshortened correctly, that wouldn't be the case. And then the last step we got here is we have his face here, and his neck is kind of coming in here. All right, so let's take a look at what we have here. So at first, this might actually look okay. You know, yeah, we kind of got some stuff going on. But the illusion that your mind is giving you is the only reason this looks somewhat acceptable is because the upper body isn't as bad as the lower body. Okay, as soon as we flip this, it starts to look pretty wacky. All right, and I just want to show you how we're gonna fix this. So let's move this over here. We'll turn this off, okay? So how we're going to fix this is we need to establish a few things. Perspective is the first. What's going on? Where is this character being placed, right? It's most likely in a situation like this. And our vanishing points are way over here, right? This is the middle of his body, and he's taking up this form. All right. Now, I'm not going to get us to start with the legs or anything like that. I want to sort of start with the gesture and all that sort of thing. But just fixing on what we have, let's assume we got the top of the chest. I'm trying to keep it a little similar to what you already drew, right? So we got the torso up here, but we need a twist. We need some twist happening, which you kind of have going on. Right? Put yourself in this guy's body, right? Imagine you're running right now. Do the body, like if you guys are standing or if you can stand up, this will actually help you guys if you're trying to understand this, or if you already look at this and go, yeah, John, you're right, that is drawn bad. Okay? Hang out with, just hear me out. Stand up right now. Everybody get out of your seat. Everybody get out of your chairs. Whatever you're doing, just stand up, look at the screen or whatever, and try to do what this character's doing. Run like they are, right? So turn your body, twist it, right? So he's got the twist there, and then you shoot that leg out like he's got. Okay, I'm doing it right now. I feel horribly off balance. And the trick is, if you notice what you're doing, is look at the way your hips are and where your body is. What this looks like is if this guy was running and chopping a tree at the same time. Feels good. Feels good. Get that stretch in the back. Yeah. Imagine right now you stand straight with an axe in your hands and you're chopping the side of a tree. Do that and then run forward. That's basically the motion that's going on right now. Okay? Now what you can do is actually get some reference and look at some runners, see how people run, right? So let's delete this here. Okay. So how would we fix this? How would we fix this sort of thing? Well, if somebody is running with this much intensity, right? Their chest is probably coming towards us. The hips are going to be behind us. They're not straight with us, right? They're behind us. They're away from us. This character is running towards us, right? So we're going to have foot coming at us here, and I know this is going to feel weird because all of a sudden we get the action figure leg, but we're going back here, and look how small I'm making this, and this is pretty much guesswork right now, but I'm trying to figure that he's in this box sort of thing, okay? And what we'll get here, and I know this stage right here, this amount of foreshortening takes a lot of practice, and that's why I really hope you guys do your practice and beat your head left and right until you can get some understanding going on. And yes, you are going to get a lot of figures like this. That's totally fine. Okay, I'm not going to give you perfection here. I'm just giving you the opinion of some practice. Okay, and that's basically all you can do here. Okay, so we're going to have that. Now I'm going to start carving in where things would be. So this would be the top of the chest, right? That would be where the neck is. So his head could be here. I'm just going to erase this up so we get some clarity. Right? Put some shoulder sockets, whatever's going on. And we're still using our form, our cylinders. Right. You can see I'm trying not to go too crazy with the anatomy right now. I'm building on what we have. We're going to throw anatomy on there as well. So if we flip it, let's just do a quick check. Cool. So this arm, back here somewhere. If I were to draw straight through this guy, if we got an arm here. Or actually, here, let me just see if I can keep it just a little bit more similar to what you're doing. So we can get the arm kind of coming at us. I'm just going to put some cylinders here again. I'm trying not to make boring cylinders either. It's just not necessarily energetic cylinders, just cylinders so that the next stage is a little bit easier so we can build on it, okay? So I'm going to lower the opacity again. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit more so we can see what's going on. Don't worry about the head. Just going to make it simple. Okay, we got our head going, a little ear action. Our neck, we'll use a cylinder for sure. We're going to use some just generic anatomy principles here, right? So I like to build as I go. That's just how currently I'm able to do this stuff. With practice, you will figure out ways like starting at the foot and building up, right? But so I'm going to start with the chest here. I know his ribs. They're going to come down here. As you can see, it's starting to get a little crunchy up here. What's going on? So we need to figure out, all right, we need to get the box shape going because the hips are more of a box than anything, right? And again, just feel free to fix as you go. Nothing's going to lock you into keeping what's going on or keep you or prevent you from getting more information in where you need it. Okay, so I'm actually going to bring the cylinder down a little bit more so we can make room for back here. He's got an ass back here, right? We've all got that thing attached to the back of us. Some of us wish it was different size than it is. All right. Now what this does is it shows me, okay, so I can still section in the leg back here, but even though that leg is way back there like you have it, it most likely is going to be something like down here and back here, only because they're not an action figure. And dynamic anatomy is one thing for sure, but there's got to be something that sort of gets it going to where it's at. All right, so let me just flip it again. And we can get some, big old superhero muscles, because why not? And as you can see, the one thing I did change with the pose is I tried to make this character lunging towards us so that it feels like it's a little bit more extreme than the straightness. Okay, so what I'm pretty much going to stop for now, and then I'm going to go ahead and excuse me, jump into the next one. But what I wanted to just hopefully point out with you guys is this is what I wanted the takeaway to be. The lack of perspective in the original drawing, I tried to fix here in the second one, just with an understanding. If I were to break it down even simpler with just cylinders, okay? Cylinders and boxes to show form, this is ideally what the body should be here in this pose. The chest cavity is going to fit in this cylinder, right? If you're to think of perspective coming up like this from the ground, let's draw a box for the hips. Trying to go simple with it, nothing radical. This is basically all that I really hope to get through to you guys here, right? Is how for shortened form, everything is going like this. Everything is going away from us. If this character was standing, these hips and this thigh would go down like this, and the leg would go down like that, right? So if we were to draw the other side, it would come down like this and go down like that. Obviously, they look like they're going to fall over, but that's what the original drawing was lacking, is just this, is the illusion of forms moving and going away from each other. What you did do right, obviously, and I don't want to say everything you did was wrong. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. Let's turn all this off and get the original art back. So in the original one, if you look, you actually had it going on in two spots. So you got the arm, right? Well, this perspective is actually wrong. Everything should be going this way. But even back here, you did it right. You got this line folding back here. You got the illusion going on back here. And all that is rounding of forms, okay? And you do have it, right? Like you've got it like right here with the belt. The belt, a lot of people don't even know this. They just instinctively put the belt curved like this. But it's actually something to be aware of, because if you are doing this in your art, great. You are aware of form. You're just not applying it everywhere else, right? Like this line is matching the pecs, which is great. Like all of that is going on, awesome. But where it falls apart is, even though this is coming here, all of a sudden, like, there's nothing left down here. And what ends up happening is now this leg, and this is hard to see, but it'll just get better with practice. But this thigh is now on the exact same plane as this arm, and it's wrong. It's not the same. Like, use your body for a little bit just to feel poses, and I don't recommend it for everything, but if you are getting used to drawing, or I don't even know how long you've been drawing for, but if you look at your art and you can say, okay, there's something off, maybe that's the time to stand up and just sort of move your body around. Okay, so thank you so much for that, Felix. Really do appreciate that. I just want to see in the chat here. Jacob M. Draw is saying, if you want to learn about figures, George Bridgman and Bern Hogarth are some really good books. Definitely worth a look. Yep, highly recommend them. Bern Hogarth, he's got some really dynamic anatomy, which is a little scary because the form you can sort of lose. However, if dynamic anatomy is where you want to go, knock yourself out. I recommend it. I think those are the first anatomy books I looked at, but I did end up going back to Bridgman. Off of an artist's recommendation, because my figures were starting to look a little too, I don't want to say dynamic, because that makes it sound bolder than it is. They just started to look more like they didn't have bones. It was all just muscle. Okay, so next one here, we're going to go Now, I did want to point something out here with this one, and I think it's pretty obvious, but I will address it. And this one comes to us from, so make sure I got your name right. I believe this one is Chris Weary. So thank you, Chris, for submitting the art. Now, so for this one here, the thing I want to point out, Chris did ask if this was safe for the stream. And at first, this sort of style of art, I don't have a problem with. Everybody likes what they do. But obviously, what everybody's eyes are going to be drawn to is this wolf creature's gigantic package. Okay, so thank you, Chris, for at least asking. Now, the reason why at first I was like, whatever, this isn't like a kid's show, nothing like that. But the thing that I did want is two things. One, yeah, okay, people do have big packages, that's fine. But it would be a double standard when people are posting pictures or submitting pictures of women who have large breasts or huge ass, right? You can't have it both ways, okay? Not that I want to look at gigantic packages, that's not what I'm trying to say. But let's just try to look at this past that. I'm hoping that when you guys draw your female characters, you're not just like, tongue sticking out the side, you got your pen in your hand like you're holding a crayon in a fist, and you're just like, yeah, let's start with the breast. Like if that's where your guys' mentality level's at, you've got a long way to go to mature as an artist. Okay, so with that aside, let's keep going. Okay, and yes, it is a furry art as well, but furry is popular, and there's rules that apply to both. Okay, so let's go ahead and do what we normally do here. All right, so let's just get a new layer here. All right, so let's go over and let's do critique time. What's the first things that pop out at us? Which is actually, there's a lot of really good work here, to be honest with you. Just trying to look. So again, there are some issues. So the first one that pops out is it's not the lack of, but the perspective is off. And we'll address that as well. And two, oops, that's a horrible two. Two, for, let me spell it wrong, shortening, horrible speller. That actually looks really brutal. For shortening, and that's really about it. And if you guys notice that there's a repeating pattern going on here between this and the previous art as well, which is, as I would say, this one looks like Chris probably has a little bit more anatomical studies under his belt, which is great. The problem is the lack of perspective and foreshortening. Now, how can we see this right away? What is it about this that gives me that impression? So if I lower everything down, let's just address what it is. There's a couple key areas where you can tell something is in this shot, right? The way there's an anatomy issue happening here, right? Where this dividing line of the form lets me know that this side of the body always has to be closer to the reader. Okay? Why is that? Because anything that curves away from us is curving away from us. Okay? That's exactly the point. So, what does that mean? So that means anything on the left side of this character has to be bigger than the right side. All right? So, let's do some tests here. So we got a hand that's this big. Just going to take my lasso tool and let's move it over to this other hand. It is a little bit smaller. Okay, so we could go ahead and say, all right, well, those are the same sizes. That's a little, whatever. We could go there, or we could just go, you know what, maybe we'll let that slide. Maybe we'll let it slide, okay? How about the feet? And yes, the feet are at a different perspective. I understand that, but let's do the same thing, right? So the feet are actually off as well. Now, what's the big thing that we can tell about the feet that makes it so? Well, that's where the heels are supposed to be, right? So let's make the perspective for this character to address the first issue that we had there. Oh, and I should say, I apologize. I left too soon there. I think I didn't say it. But Felix, again, yeah, thank you for submitting the art in the last critique. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep practice more with the form and your anatomy and all that stuff's good. But just keep drawing and it'll be fine. What I saw wasn't like mission critical stuff. It was just stuff that I think as you continue to draw, you will improve and get better on. Okay. Okay. So back to Chris here. So how are we going to determine perspective? I don't know. So let's connect the heels. Cool. So they go over here somewhere. What's the next thing we can do? The hips look pretty straight. Nah, I don't. Yeah. We're looking for something that would looks like it's on the same plane. Okay. So the hips are going this way. The shoulders, he's kind of twisting going on here. Uh, the wings are kind of going over here, right? And then we can kind of go this way with the feet. All right. So what are we doing here that's wrong, right? What's happening here is the lack of perspective. The perspective here isn't changing. The form isn't changing in the space that it's in. All right. So let's do a draw over very quickly so we can see if there's any glaring things that pop out at us right away here. So I have the hands, forearm. Get the hips going. All right, so we got a hand here. Now this drawing here looks like more of what I'm doing right now was actually done in it, which is great. But what I feel happened is that once the anatomy started going on top, some of this started to, like, the understanding got a little bit lost there. Okay, and the head's misshapen here. I won't do the wings because the wings are actually off as well, but there's no point in drawing them in there. We'll show that as we go. All right, so this is what we have. Now, hopefully when you see this, right, and I didn't break it. I didn't try to, like, do anything. When you look at this, all of a sudden the same sort of problem is happening that happened in the last one. It's flat. There's no perspective. The angle isn't as drastic as it should be to relate to what's going on in the original image. So let's move that over. Or whoops, we'll move that over. No, I want to be able to see it. Sorry. So go there, and I'm just going to draw over this as well. Let's turn it blue. Okay, and I'm going to use what we had there as a reference. All right, but I want to show you guys just a little bit what's going on here. So I always like to start with the chest or the head, usually the chest, because everything comes from the chest usually, right? Like everything's. I find that I can set a lot of key areas up by knowing this. All right, so I'm gonna have it here. We're actually, if you notice, this is a popular pose. I do this all the time as well. We're above the character looking down. Now, how do we know that? Unless the character's crouching, we can see this area right here. This area right here is where all your neck muscles and stuff like that are. If you were to stand right now in front of the mirror, straight your chest, like you got Superman on there, Superman logo on your chest, and you look in the mirror, you cannot. Well, you can see your they're not lats. Your delts. No, those are your shoulders. Your traps. Jeez. Your traps. The big things that make it look like you got no neck. You can see all that. But if you were to look in the mirror and just bend forward and look, you can start to see more of the concaveness, like down on the collarbone. Okay, and that's actually very excuse me, very important, because that tells us the perspective that this character's in. Again, if he was leaning forward, then yeah, he could be straight, but he's not. He's tilted, and he's showing us like a claw. He's showing us, like, it looks like, if I were to look at this pose, it's almost like he's got the hand out and he's got that lightning bolt and he's ready to just throw it at whoever he's looking at. Okay, so I'm thinking of that as we do this. So the next stage is we need to make sure this character doesn't fall over, right? So this leg is going away from us. That's where I would put it. It's going away from us. We're going to bring it back in here. And you can see I'm pretty much keeping this one pretty flat. Keeping this leg pretty flat. I don't want to put a kneecap there. Now this is where it comes real cool. This right away is going to change the whole image, okay? So let's figure out the perspective. All right, I want my knees coming here. I want that going there. Okay, so if you can notice right away, what I've done is, with these perspectives, if you were to trace them all back, they would go to a point somewhere. In this original drawing, they didn't do that. They were all on the same line. Okay, so why is this so cool? Well, now I can get this leg to kind of come at us, but I can line the kneecaps up, right? And I can bring this leg out like this, like really drastically, and maybe it's pointing at the guy or whoever he's waiting to shoot at. Now look at right away how dramatically different that is, hopefully, and there's that energy that I'm pretty sure was supposed to be, that the original image was trying to do. Right? And what this also lets us do is it also gives us, all right, so now, you can get the big old lats in here, or, God. Yeah, those are lats. You can get them in there too, no problem. I'm going to actually keep the hand where it is because the hand's fine where it's at, right? So we got the big hand, but the problem that we have, if you look at this one, like the forearm is this big, and the bicep tricep is longer, which it shouldn't be because as forms go away from us, they get shorter, right? So if I kept the forearm in the exact same spot that it was at, we just make the bicep smaller and the shoulder smaller. Whoops. You see how the shapes are getting a little bit smaller like that? It immediately looks like there's more perspective that's going on. Okay? And this lets us get the pecs going. And we now know that the shoulder is going to be actually way back here because it's almost like he's being pulled back. And let's get the cylinder going this way because this hand is coming at us. Now we know this hand, because it's away from us, just like the feet, it has to be smaller than the hand that's closer to us here, right? And the last cool thing is, yeah, you can get your head kind of coming in here, doing what you want. That's fine. But now we get these really cool wings in here. Yeah. And I like to draw the wing, or whichever side you end up doing, you can just mirror it following that perspective you've already drawn. Right? Okay. Let's just turn off the background image so you guys can get a clearer look. Okay, does that make more sense to you guys? Does this look a little bit more like a little bit more dynamic? The anatomy hopefully looks like it reads a little bit. And again, I don't want to go over the, all of the intricacies of anatomy. I don't think that's appropriate. If you look at this, it's just circles and forms. This is all this is. Okay, so I hope this helps. And like a really quick thing, even with what you did. Honestly, with what you originally had, Chris, if you were to just redo this leg right here, if you were to just redo this and put it in the perspective as everything else, it immediately looks better. Even if we flip it, you can kind of see what's going on, right? Okay, so I hope that helped with you. And yes, like somebody did already say in the chat, if this is the same guy that posted the furries before, I believe Chris is the one, and I apologize, Chris, if I clearly have forgotten if that was you that posted it, but if it was, yes, clearly, if we look again one last time at the original art that was submitted, right, like the anatomy that's here, it's much better. It's clear. Like I can look at this and go, if I were to make a quick pass at this or a quick look at it, the anatomy looks fine. It looks and arguably it looks perfect. It's the style's clean. I know where everything is. Everything's represented in a way that I understand anatomy to be. Right. I'm in the camp that anatomy for comics, or at least the stuff that I like to draw. I'm not looking to draw realistic anatomy. I'm looking to draw believable anatomy, or anatomy that you might be able to look at and go, okay, I guess that's a shoulder. Yeah, maybe it could look better. Could always look better. As long as you're continually studying, your understanding of it gets better, okay? But just looking at this, totally passable, totally passable. Again, the only thing to critique, if I had to, is really, it's just this lag right here is really the drastic part. And again, if you wanted to move it forward down here, you totally could, right? But just remember, this hand is really what's selling everything, all right? Because here's another thing that you can do. You already did it with your lighting. This lightning bolt is casting shadows this way, right? Which, probably should be going this way. Doesn't matter. Let's just go with what you got. If that's the case, let's put this guy in a wall. Let's make him stand by a wall. Like, let's put a wall behind him based on your lighting, right? And I had to curve that up a little bit. But look, like his leg is going in the wall, all right? So just try to think of it like that. That's all I'm trying to get you guys to think of, okay? So thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. So now I'm going to open it up to the chat. I know we only got about 15 minutes left here, but like I said, we're going to keep it going just for a few minutes later. I want to get as many of these jammed in as we can. Let's delete all that. So if you've got a critique, please leave it in the chat in all capitals, made with or just a description of what it is that you would like help with, and what it is that you need improvement on. Okay, so we're going to start with Faya, Fyyaa. Thank you for offering up some sacrificial art. Okay, so we're gonna open up, and I'm actually happy to see this kind of image because this isn't something I don't think we normally see on the stream, which is great. Okay, so let's get ready. All right, and again, this isn't really what's it called, comic book art. That's cool. I would like to see more of this sort of stuff because it helps broaden my way to break things down too. So let's take a look at it right away, and again, things that come to me that look a little off. So, in a drawing like this, I feel like it ends up going into the realism, which lends itself to very little room for errors. And I'm not sure if this is finished. Is this finished, or are you still painting it? I'll just wait for a little bit because I know there's a little bit of a delay. And thanks again, everybody. That's sharing stuff. You had to do it fast. Okay, cool. That's all I need to know. All right, so let's say, I'm sorry, are you a boy or a girl? I don't want to start saying they said, but until you let me know, I don't. Anyway, so they said it's fast. So let's say that if it's fast, you had to do what you had to do. This gets the image across, great. But what could we do if we had like an extra hour or extra half hour or something like that, right? So your guy, okay, so what he could do to fix some of this stuff, like if we zoom in, and again, okay, so the first impact I would say, it's fine. It's totally fine. I wouldn't worry about anything. If this is being painted, the only thing, and this is a trick you guys might like, because I did notice somebody else was talking in the chat about color, is in Photoshop or in Manga Studio, doesn't matter. They've all got these little things up here. If you go to layer, Photoshop's the same, layer, and you're looking for an adjustment layer in Photoshop, or in Manga Studio, it's called a correction layer. Okay, you're looking for, where is it? Okay, so apparently in Photoshop they have one that's called black and white. What we're going to do is we're going to put hue, saturation, and all that stuff. And what we do is we take the saturation out. I don't want any color at all. And you put that above everything and it turns everything to black and white. What this does is right away it shows you problems. Okay, so the first one that I can see right away is the hair blends into the background. If we turn it off, the only thing that makes it not do that is the hue, right? The color. So brown on this looks like a green. Let's use our eyedropper to see. So we got brown or a reddish brown in there. Click back here and it looks like, oh, see? So this is the beautiful part about color, guys, is like look at these clouds. They kind of look like they're a little bluish green, but if you click on it, it's actually oh wow, those ones are red. I thought I saw purple somewhere. Yeah, let's go. There we go. Purple in there somewhere, right? Awesome, awesome color stuff. Okay, so there's that. That's a problem. You don't want that. One of these values has to be punched up somewhere, right? So what I'll do real quick is I'm going to use the marquee tool. And you can see obviously where the hands are better because they are a lighter value, right? So I'm going to just select the girl here. Real rough. I'm not trying to win any awards for perfect selection here. Okay, so we're going to have the selection that we have there, right? We're going to make a new correction layer on top of it here. And this is the same in Photoshop again, and go to levels. Now levels, you can actually play with the range and stuff, right? So if I bring it back here, it'll make things darker. But right away, even though this is darker, take a look at this, like how much that pops. Like now it even separates from the background, even though, you know, you guys, I'm looking at the screen here, it might be way too dark for you to see. Absolutely, I understand that, right? But what if we go in the other direction? What if we just go like that? Okay, that's fine, sure, right? We deselect. Now this character is getting a little bit more separated from the background, right? And we haven't really done anything. So if we turn the black and white off, right? This is the difference we have between. So this is the original, and this is where we're at now, okay? And if I eyedropper this, you can kind of see we're getting into that problem that I talked about in the previous one, is right here, we're going way too high in a saturation range. Because we go here and look at the shadow. The shadow is getting good. I like that. It's down here. But there's not much shift going on. All right. So the last, well, not the last, but one thing I'm going to do here as well, because there's a lot of, this is going to require like a pretty big paint over. But the one thing I will do first is I'm just going to make a shadow layer over everything. Okay. And what I like to do for like a generic shadow, guys, you guys can go into like this brownish purple, doesn't matter. Go around here, right? make a new layer, and we're going to put that to multiply. And what that does is when I draw, it's going to overlay everything, but it harmonizes the shadow color. Now, this isn't necessarily appropriate to everything you do. If you guys have seen the Jessup King stuff I do, this is how I do the shadows, and then you can adjust this layer. And I know this might feel like, okay, there's a lot going on here with layers and stuff, and I agree, there is. But just bear with me, and you can see here. So I think this needs to be pushed a little bit more with shadow. And I'm going to do like some comic book style shadowing here just for simplicity. So let's try to figure out where the light source is. So based on your drawing, you got this little fleck. It might have been an accident, I'm not sure, right there. So I'll use that as the light source, the primary light source. You do have some shines in the eye, which makes it look like that is the correct light source, and some shadow kind of coming down here as well. And then you've got this really harsh light right here. So let's just assume we, the people looking at this, are the sun. Okay, we are the person being the image being taken here. So let's get some more dramatic shadows going on here. And the reason for this is you can see just by bulking up the shadow work, it's going to start really gross right here. We will fix this, don't worry. But by bulking up the shadow work, you can start to see form. You can start to see value ranges. And I know a lot of people don't come to me for color stuff, which is appropriate. I think there's a lot more better resources out there. Okay, so the light was coming down, and this is where it gets really crazy because you guys, for those of you that haven't been studying light and shadow, let alone color, color is a whole nother beast. But light and shadow, I think every comic book artist should understand. It doesn't matter if you're drawing anime or furries or superheroes. It's going to help your art no matter what. Because like right now, I have to think. So if light's coming here, what's being cast? What's like where's light going? Where's stuff going on this image, right? So let's think of the lips. Light's coming down, and the light has to hit the lips. Okay, so if you were to look in the mirror, where are your lips getting hit with shadow? So for simplicity, the lips, they always curve down the upper lip. So let's put those guys in shadow, right? And then underneath the bottom lip, which you had. And I think your shadows could have been pushed a little bit more there. Okay. No, we don't need that. What the hell? I'm just trying to keep, we're just going to stick with the face here. Right, so we just zoom out a little bit. So I'm just going to keep with the face here, right here, okay? So if we just look, let's turn that on and off. So that's the original, and that's just putting some extra shadow in there. And I haven't done anything, it's just a multiply layer, right? So if that looks too garish, let's say, we could always just turn the opacity down. That looks a little better, right? So that was the original. That's just with one pass of shadow of a gross brush, right? And if you really wanted to, it probably makes more sense. We're going to have to cast shadow the camera as well on the face. Okay. So there's that. And I'm seeing Rich. He's actually pointing this out, so we're going to address that because he's 100% correct. The background is clashing way too much with what's going on. I also want to show one other thing before we do this. So here's the black and white of the face, and then when we turn the shadow on, you can see form all of a sudden starts coming in, and you can actually draw. And I know a lot of people, they don't really like drawing in black and white and stuff. Oh, cool, we got a little bit of how's that look? Ugh, we got like this gross airbrushy thing going on. But yeah, we're gonna adjust the background here. And the other thing too is the focal point. What is the point of this image? You've got so much detail right here in the lens of the glass, which is great, and that makes it the focal point. But if we want this girl, you know, if she's the beautiful girl, the cute girl, the cute woman, you know, taking images of the sun or whatever is going on there, perhaps that should be the focus, right? So if that's the case, that means we need to put more work in detail into that area so that she pops way more than the camera does, okay? And that means leaving less detail in the camera, which you did, which is great. You left all this like technical detail out, which is fine. This lens flare could actually be turned down so that we could go ahead And oops, let's turn the shadow back on. So we can go ahead and add like watch. So we'll go into the eyes here. We'll click that. That is our local color. We're going to make it a little bit higher because we're going into the highlights. We're going to bring it up, right? I'm just going to draw this in here. Bring this up again. We're doing like the milky part of the eyes here. Right? And maybe we want to maybe a little bit more drastic of a highlight, and we could actually go like this. We could actually pull not this white but close to this white from the camera so that the same light is being hit inside here. Right? And we're not doing really doing much. And if we go ahead and we use like even the highlight you got on the skin there, and we bring whoops, let's actually just bring that up a little bit more so it stands out. We start bringing the highlights a little bit into the face. I don't even know if we got. Oh, that's huge. Trying to get an airbrush here, guys. Sorry. Just gonna make a cut here. Good old traditional kind of. Whoops. Just so that it makes that stand. So I'm going very quickly here so you can kind of see. This is all I'm really doing around there, okay? And if we go black and white again, you can see how like now there's detail in the eyes going on, okay? So the very last thing we'll do is I just want to show you, so in a case like this, it sort of looks like the character is, this is drawn all greenish blue as a background, and then the browns are put on top of it. So if you look here on the color wheel, right, you got your greens and blues, like all this side looks like this was the background, and on this side is the character detail, right? And these are called, I believe it's complementary colors, so blue and orange. If you look at a lot of covers to movies and video games and stuff like that, they actually work like this. They go, there's a lot that are blue and red. Take a look at it. Even the new Star Wars posters, take a look. It's like blue and red, blue and orange, stuff like that, okay? So if that's the case, let's take a look again. Right, so we've got some warmer colors in here. So what we can do is we could actually, let me just go here. We're going to bring this up a bit. I just want to see how this goes. Let's play around a little bit here, real quick. So we're going to grab our lasso tool again, make this disgusting cut. Except this time we're going to go around her. Right, and I'm just going to try a gradient here. What do we got? Foreground to transparent. Let's take a look how that works. How's that look? Let's go back to our values to kind of see. Yeah, it doesn't look that bad. Let's try going from the top, see how that one looks. Maybe that feels a little bit better. Yeah. That's okay. I mean, what it's doing is it's popping her off the background. And the last thing I would do here, because you know, like I say, this sort of stuff, we could noodle this to death. I really do. I apologize. I'd like to do a little bit more with you, but just to give time for everybody else. Last thing I like to do here, I do this all the time in Photoshop as well, is so we're going to go into, we're going to make yet another correction layer, and we're going to go to color balance. What color balance does is it does exactly that. It balances the color, sort of harmonizes all of our colors together. So in this case, you've got like this brightish red, sort of like the sun sort of there. So I'm going to bring in a little bit more yellow to the whole image, and maybe a little bit more red, right? So we'll go into the shadow. So what's the shadow kind of color we're going here? We went with that bluish sort of picture back there, right? So bring some blue and some cyan. You can always like move these around to sort of get a feel, and I recommend you guys try playing around with this, because as you can see as we're sliding, it's dramatically changing the impact, and all this is a layer. Okay, and then our highlight again is going to be that bright red yellowish sun kind of thing that's going on there. Let's see if we can bring some green, or I like bringing the green in there. Looks kind of nice. Right. So there we go. So we've got this, and not much was really done. And what you could do as well is now you could flatten the whole image and now go in there and start smoothing out your lines and start to sort of feel what's going on. And I'm not sure, it's got to be I'm using the Cintiq here as well, which the color is always off, and it looks nice here. And I'm looking over on the smaller window, and it looks like it's very saturated. So I'm just going to go correction layer, hue saturation, and we're just going to bring that saturation back down so it's not so garish, right? So yeah, I did notice that there's a whole bunch of stuff going on in the chat, so I won't pick up on that. Hopefully everybody was able to help you out as well. Again, this was really well. I really do enjoy it, but yeah, this is really cool. And again, it's just pushing the shadow. I know you said it had to be done quick turnaround, but there's some quick stuff you can do. that can just help punch up the image. And just to go over it one more time, is always make a layer above everything you're coloring. Okay, I don't care what kind of coloring you're doing. If it's cell shaded, let's do another quick example here, just so you guys can kind of see how important this is. So I was gonna type Super Mario, but I know Nintendo and copyright is pretty gross. What's another cartoon character here? Adventure Time. Adventure Time. Boom, bada boom. And we're gonna do one last critique after this, and we'll be good. All right. So I get like no. Yeah, I guess this works. It's not exactly the example I'm going for, but all right. So let's paste it in here. Okay. It's supposed to be a white background, just hear me out. Okay. So you see how there's all these colors in here, and it's like, well, what colors do I use? What's going on? Like, what shade of green? Why is, what's this guy's name? Finn, I think it is, or something. Why do we have, like, why did he pick this color green with that color green and all that stuff? That's fine. An easy way to just check this stuff is, again, just go up to layer. We're going with correction layer hue saturation in Photoshop. Just go black and white. We're going to kill all the saturation. Okay. And you can see right away why things are the way they are. All right. So look, at first you might just go, okay, so his shades of blue, they are dark. They're different. They're different on here. But as soon as you go black and white and you remove all, I believe it's tone is the word we're looking for, or all hue, sorry, the hue's gone, so it's just black and white. Look how the gray is very similar to each other, but what that does is that makes the legs pop, makes the arms pop when the arm overlaps the clothing, which these cartoon characters do, right? The face, it's very similar, like you got the dark with the light, with the gray with the light, right? So the characters, gray, black, white, gray, light gray, dark gray, white. That's all it is stacking those shades on top of each other will work every time because it makes it clear. All right, and then there is some other stuff that goes in there, but I just want you guys to sort of remember that. So do that, and then play with your levels, and play with color balance. Color balance is one of the things I've just picked up over the last year, and it's improved my color game as well. And again, I'm not a colorist really at all. I'm just faking my way faking my way through it. So thank you for the wonderful question. Really do appreciate that. So we're going to go up here, and I just want to see, again, I know there's a lot here. I just want to make sure that we sort of got like, Jacob's asking about color blending techniques. I'd like to address that, but not right now. If you can bring it up next week, hopefully we can tackle it. The only reason is like, I don't really blend colors. I've never really done that. Again, I try to find the quick way to do things. Oh god, I know it sounds horrible, but like I'll just open this up so you guys can take a look, just to see where I'm coming from with it. So this is the cover here for the sketchbook red we did. Now if you look, all it is it's pretty much like animation cuts, sort of like what I just did with the coloring. And because of that, it just makes it much easier for me to do what I need to do. And I find the art style I do, it makes it so that the artwork, you can see it more. Okay, the only thing that I don't think's in here, actually I'll show you guys this too. So that shadow layer that we even did on the previous image, if you look, it's like this purplish blue, right? We have it on our own layer, it's in a multiply layer. But we can change the hue, again, right? Like maybe I want the shadows to be green. Maybe I like the way that looks. Maybe we want to go a little bit more into the yellows and reds. Give it more like warm shadows, right? You can totally do all that stuff. And if you're to keep it there, we can bring it down. And how much shadow do you want? No shadow? It looks like flats, right? You start jacking the opacity up, and it can kind of go all over the place like that. And again, the very last thing I do always is layer, correction layer, color balance. Okay, and once you figure what your palette that you kind of like with this, and I'll show you guys. I guess we should do some videos on this. Videos are past due on my YouTube channel, but how do we take this and apply it to like the next panel or the next page where they're in the same scene and stuff, right? Because that's very important. But you know, like really quickly, I can go, maybe I want these guys to be on like, I don't know, a frozen planet. So everything's starting to go blue. I want things going just frozen blue. So we're going right like that. Shadow, I want it like dark blue. Highlights, I want light blue, right? And that's very drastic, I know. But what it's done is I don't have to worry about picking the specific color that they should be in these areas because I can just color balance it. And it's not the perfect situation, but it does what I need it to do for what I'm trying to do. And again, maybe that's too much, so we can lower the opacity a bit. Right? I'm a big believer in adjustment layers or correction layers in Manga Studio. Okay, so again, I appreciate that. And sorry, Jacob, I can't really. So what I would do actually, okay, so that cutting that I did, like where it's just a simple shadow, all you would really do is you just get a pressure-sensitive brush, like an airbrush, and you just fade in those sharp corners to blend in with opacity into like the skin, we'll say, wherever that it's trying to hit. That's really about it. And then you can do some hard cuts, but that's going into some stuff we'll do in another video. Okay, sorry about that. So the last one to do here is Cass draws stuff. I believe you're a girl, female, or a man. Just let me know. That way I don't have to address you as that person. Okay, so let's paste this up here. And they are asking, I honestly don't know. I feel like my lighting is weak and I have no idea what to do. And Rich, oh, here, let me post this up here so you guys can see it while I'm sort of catching up on what people were saying here. So let's zoom out. Really cool drawing, by the way. Rich is saying, Cass, for me, it doesn't appear probably that the light comes directly from behind with the explosion. That is an explosion, right? Cass saying, yes. Thanks, Rich. I just don't know where to place the shadow. And I also feel like I haven't really figured out a solid style to ink my works in. Okay, so just to sort of go back and forth there. Let's see. Your girl. Okay. So what Cass is asking, you're stuck in a situation that I think a lot of artists get in, myself included, is, I'll be real with you guys. Right now I'm looking at some solid Brian Hitch artwork, and it's getting me all kinds of art turned on. I'm looking at this stuff, and it's like, I need more of that in my art. Okay? So looking for a style, forget it. Stop beating your guys' head over of like finding the style to do something in. Just learn by looking at what you like and studying what you like. Just make sure that what you're doing is you're studying from a couple things. You're not just studying one artist all the time. If you got a favorite artist, stick with them. Draw them until you can copy them if you need to. But don't forget to just branch out a little bit, because if you don't, what ends up happening is your style, everybody calls you a clone. You don't want to be called a clone. It's hard to get out of that. Or maybe you do. I don't know. I would prefer not to be called a clone. But I always like people, like I think my art looks a certain way. And I get people that comment, they're like, hey, I could see the blank influence. And I'm like, oh, thanks, you saw that. Cool. And then I'll get some people say, like, you know what? Your stuff reminds me of so-and-so. And they're like, let's say a Marvel artist will say. And I've never even heard the person. And they haven't been drawing for like 20 years. And it's like, really? You saw that in here and here? So you can't really pick and choose what other people see. All you got to do is just do your thing, keep learning, and drawing with the idea of getting deadlines done. That's it. So what does that mean if you're just learning on your own? We will address your question. But study time is study time, right? But we've all only got X amount of hours to fill in a day. And you've only got X amount of hours to fill in for study. So if you know that, you gotta cut corners where you can, figure out how to squeeze all the influence and reference you can out of something as much as you can, and drink that study syrup as fast as you can, so that you can sort of absorb it with the limited time we all got. Okay? And what this does is it allows you to not be a direct copy, but it allows you to learn through seeing, which is what most likely got you into art anyway, which kind of got you ready to go, got you to pick up a pencil and keep drawing, even though you're nowhere near where you want to be, and you think your art sucks, and you just want to give up art because it's so hard, right? Screw all that. Just be you. Just be you, okay? And I can tell, like an example like this, for me, when I'm looking at this, it feels like you enjoy anime or manga, right? Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Keep doing it. Keep doing what you love. Now, to address the art practical side of it, what she's asking is about the lighting, okay? Which is great. So, this is, again, supposed to be an explosion, which is fine. I'm not going to critique the special effect of the explosion. Doesn't matter. That's not the point. All I need to know is that's the light source of what's going on. So, one thing that I would recommend you do, this looks like it was done, well, yeah, it was definitely done digital. Where are we at here? Recent. Let's open up that cover again. And I want to show you something here that you might get a kick out of. Shut up all these layers here. So for those of you that are always like, oh man, lighting is so difficult and hard. You're damn right it is. It's very difficult and hard, and it's just like anatomy. You're gonna get ready because until you're dead, you're always gonna find another artist or somebody else that's drawing in a certain way or something that you're just like, wow. And the moment you stop saying wow, that from other people's artwork is the moment you really need to start considering what the hell you've been doing. Because if you're not getting continually impressed by people, you might want to check your ego a bit, right? You need to reassess things if you're not getting impressed and you're not learning from other people. Now, in saying all that, where I learned this was from really this one artist that got me pretty much into correcting how I draw, and I use that pretty loose. Hey, Matador, how's it going? Glad you can make it. How you been? Feeling better? Things going a little better for you? Okay, so what I would do is, let's say this is what you started with, okay? This is your line art that you gave me right here, okay? What you can do really quickly, very quickly, is you just go, all right, I'm going to grab a fat brush. We're going to put red. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Now, the line art here is on multiply, so I can draw underneath of it. I'm not drawing on the canvas itself, right? We're drawing on a separate layer. Get the biggest, grossest brush you can find. Yeah, that's going to be good. Was that 170? Okay. 170. Let's get back up there. All right. And the whole idea is to go, where's my light? Where's my shadow? When you give yourself this giant brush to draw with on a layer, you can experiment without having to start going into shadow and then getting lost or frustrated. You can skip all of that and have your mind map of where your shadow should be later. Okay? Actually, this is actually a horrible example because it's not going to do what we need it to do. What we need is this one. This is the one we need. This file. This is just the line art file. There we go. Much better. Okay. Layers, merge layers. Shit, is that gonna work? Layers. Oh shit, okay. Sorry. Multiply. Okay, cool, worked. Alright. Sorry, you guys. Alright, so you've got your line art layer like you had. Okay, so let's look at this and go, all right, well, where's the lights coming from? I'm going to use your example of the explosion from behind. So if the explosion's from behind, unfortunately, what happens is that means there's so much dramatic light in behind you that it's going to wipe out a lot of the detail on your character in the foreground. A lot of art nowadays, they just forget that and they just put the shadow color in front, which it should be, but they don't make it as dark as it should be, so you can still see the character. So a good example of this is tomorrow when you got the sun, or if the sun's out where you're at right now. Don't look at the sun, don't be silly, but grab like a plate or something and just hold it up in front of the sun. That's really what you're drawing. Okay, your character is the plate, and not a glass plate, just something that you can't see through, and you can see how all of a sudden the color disappears or the rays go behind it, right? And this is studying certain things like that. Good for you, man. I'm glad that you're drawn. That's very exciting. There's actually somebody, I don't know if you saw, on the last week stream, they posted in YouTube in the comments saying that they wish you well, wish you all the best, and that you can keep drawing. So you got support everywhere you got, man. I know we're not there and all that stuff, but hopefully, like you're saying, you're drawing. So that's good. That's good. So what we would do is you get this big fat brush and watch this. I'm just gonna go. All right, so if I know all inside here is supposed to be in shadow, right? Because I know the edge is supposed to be yada yada yada. Cool. All right, so that's where the shadow should be on him. What about the guy over here? Well, if the light's coming from the left, over here should probably be in shadow. Underneath here, all those should probably be. And if you notice, what I'm saying is a lot of probablys, because what that's doing is that's just, I'm not committing to anything. I'm just That's what I think it should be. And you'd be surprised that, like, again, with study and stuff, your brain remembers quite a bit of stuff. Now, I would go a little slower than what I'm doing you here, what I'm showing you here, because there are some areas like up in here in the tentacles that need cash shadows and stuff, but don't worry about that. If you look right away, I've done nothing, and I've shown you exactly what you need to do with shadows, where they should be anyway, like how it hits the form. Of course, actually applying this is much different. But just to show you, let's just say, right now you're in the mode of just experimenting. Do I want the light there? All right, well, I'm going to turn that off, and we're going to try... Oops. Oh, where'd my brush go? Maybe I want... Oops. Oh my god, this brush. There we go. Maybe I want the light coming from the left. All right, so that means I'm going to go... All right, so everything on the right side here is going to get cast in shadow. Right? So the pecs over here would probably come like that. Ribs here like this. Cool. And we'll actually do it with this, or actually we'll do it to the one you wanted there. Let's go to shadow, get your biceps, your forearms, right? Yeah, I like that. I like the way that one looks. But let's try it again. Let's try a different one. Maybe we can put the light coming from below us. Yeah, like they're sitting on the sitting on the explosion, right? So up here would be in shadow, up here would be in shadow. Whoops, nope, down here would be, all that would be in shadow. So you kind of see what I'm doing here, and as you guys can tell, hopefully, like, okay, yeah, practice trying to understand how shadow works, of course, but I'm just making layers and quickly throwing on basically just like mood lighting. How does this piece feel with different kinds of lighting? And the point of it is that you don't have to worry about, like, I don't recommend going in, and I do it as well, but if I have the time, I do like, because it doesn't take too long, but doing something like this just so I can have choices of, which one gives me the feel? Because again, what are we doing? We're trying to tell stories. If you got somebody jumping with an explosion happening behind them, you're damn right there's a story to that, right? You don't have to explain where the explosion came from and all that stuff, but something about that needs to say something. So again, going back to the piece that you gave us, look at his face. Beautifully drawn face. I love that. That face looks amazing. I honestly think this image could be, and probably should be, cropped to like something like this. Edit, crop. Because there's so much for our eyes to look on that other one that when it's cropped like this, it gives us a little bit more focus on, okay, so all the lines actually now, they're leaning to the face, which is great. You know what I mean? This is awesome stuff. Really cool image. What's that look like flip? Nah, yeah, I like it like that. It's cool. But with that cropped action, yeah, I like that. So just a little example here. This is personal too. But let's just go back so we can kind of see. Right? So we've got all this open space, but I don't know. Like I said, I like it cropped. I like it just kind of brought in like this. And we can still see that explosion from behind as well. Maybe something like that. Yeah, it's cool. Anyway, so let's just quickly go over what I did here with the shadows. Right, so we've got this here. Right? Okay, we've got that lighting. We've got to come from the side, and then we got what you were kind of doing with the light come from behind us. It's a little more dramatic. Like, here come, like, these are the guys coming in to clean up the problem, right? They got the sunset behind them. All right, it's time to take care of business, which is really cool. So, let's see if we can apply it to what you sent here. We're going to put this on multiply. I'm going to make a layer underneath of it. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly sort of draw what we have in here as well. So if you actually look, like, I mean, the problem, I'll be honest with you, is that the kind of coloring you have going on here is very painted, right? So it's a little hard to adjust what you have here. But what you could do in a situation like this is, like, it's not that bad, to be honest with you. If we were to just go, I'm gonna make actually a layer on top of this. We're gonna try this a little different. I'm gonna make a layer on top, and we're gonna put that layer to multiply. I'm gonna bring it into like a gray. Yeah, that might work. So we can kind of apply it. I'm just gonna do the upper body here, okay? So let's try to figure out where the light is. Again, remembering it's directly behind us, right? This giant explosion behind us. So an easy way to do this, to be absolutely honest with you, is this whole figure should be in shadow because all this light is behind them, so light isn't going to hit them. At least not in the front. All that light's hitting them from behind where that giant explosion is, right? So I've found this to be pretty easy in these situations. It's sort of like backwards instead of, you know how I said before, how I like to work with shadow and then put the highlights on. In this case, with something that has dramatic lighting, which you do, I like to, well, actually it is, sorry. It's starting with the shadow and then going ahead and carving out where the light would be, as opposed to applying the light, we'll say. Okay. So I just want to show you right away, just on this alone. Actually, I keep looking at the wrong screen here. So just this alone makes that explosion. I'll just go here so you don't have to see all down here. But this alone, hopefully, just makes it look like there's more explosion. There's more light happening now here, right? Just because all I did was make a new layer on top of this. Look at the gray I used right here and lowered the opacity until I'm like, how dark do we want to go? Like that's full opacity. We want to kind of come down here, something like that, right? Okay. So we have that. And then the last step we're gonna do is we're gonna make a new layer. But well, actually no, sorry, I keep jumping around on you. So now I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to use a hard eraser here because I want the light, I think, should be pretty sharp around there. So now we're just going to go ahead and do the edges. I'm just erasing the shadow we had. You kind of already got it going on too. You can bring it in even more here and stuff. And the last step, like I said we would do, is now I'm actually going to draw on white. And this will just give us like that extra highlight that we want. I mean, you could noodle this to death, which I'm doing. But anyway, so you would have pretty much like this kind of where I'm kind of going with it because you have such a dramatic light going on here. That's kind of the way it goes. The last thing I guess we could do here, and this would actually help it because you can only do so much with the value, is we're gonna go ahead and make a new layer. Where is it? Is this gonna work? Correction layer, hue saturation. No. Gradient map. Gradient map, we're going to work on this. Cool. You guys ever use gradient maps? They're awesome. Alright, so what we're going to do here is I'm just going to merge all these layers, just for now. So another way that we can do it is like once you work with gray, you're going to go up to, this works in Photoshop as well, correction layer gradient map. And what a gradient map does is all of your white is white and your black is black. But what this lets you do is you can change the color. So maybe with white, I don't want the white. I want the white to be like that explosion behind the character, right? So we can kind of come in here. And I'm going to just sort of build up the colors of that explosion. So now I need to go a little darker though because we're kind of trying to get back. If you kind of like, this is a little harder to understand. There's a few videos on YouTube you can watch about this sort of thing, and I highly recommend you do so because the power that you get in doing this is phenomenal for doing nothing, right? So this is just a simple gradient map here, okay? And yeah, you might not have wanted to go into color. I understand that, but I think this might just help some people out here, right? So here you go. So we've got that explosion behind them, and this is like a great starting point that we can have to just sort of like add some stuff now, right? So if we wanted to add a new layer, this should work. This is sort of how I do it in Photoshop sometimes. I don't do this all the time with the way I work, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to do the complementary color, right? So we've got red. We're going to go directly across the blue. So let's see. Oh yeah, nice and way too big. Blue. We're looking for. There's no color. Maybe overlay will work. Yeah, we'll just put overlay for now. And this is where you would kind of just draw in your color. I know this isn't all that hot looking, but just hear me out. Especially for like what we're doing here. If you just want like that quick kind of cool shot, like a little experiment for yourself, it's a nice way to just sort of play with color without having to really spend a lot of time. And the only way this really works is how well you've got like your tones kind of going on already. I'll just fill that with blue, right? So right away, all it did was just kind of turn those colors there. And if you notice, it's kind of like that blue and orange stuff that we talked about before. So again, you're just going to see we're going to do this select color blah, 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 levels. We want some level action. We want that set to be a little darker. Want those explosions to be a little bit more brighter. Right. Layer correction layer, and then we're going to end with a color balance. So I want most of the stuff to be red from that explosion. Shadow, the shadow in this case is the blue of this character, right? We can bring that up a little bit more. And then the highlight we want like dramatic reds and dramatic yellows. So you can see like how drastic this sort of stuff goes, right? Like it looks like it's way too dark in what you guys are seeing. But this is sort of like I like to think of it anyways, like a Capcom sort of style art that I used to grow up with. But I know this really didn't address the question you had too much, but what we're going to wrap this up with is let's assume this is where you were at right here, right? So you did this quick thing like I suggested of getting your shadows and stuff in there, right? So this was my guesswork. I like to call it like my fun layer that I put on here to just sort of go like, okay, that's where I think the shadows should go. I'm okay with that. So we're gonna make a new layer, and this is where we would go with our gray, right? Like you kind of had. Let's see if I can kind of find this brushwork kind of. Geez, all these brushes are massive. That's not pressure sensitive. Wow, some of these are really, really poopy. All right, well, I'll assume this is what we'll kind of go with. Oops. God. All right, so using what I have underneath there as my guide, maybe that's too much. Let's just lower the opacity. Using that as my guide, I can start to go, all right, now that I know that's where I want my shadows to go, let's go ahead and go in here and start actually rendering out our shadows based on the information I have that we already put under there, right? And again, what this does is it's just supposed to, for me anyway, I find that it helps free up my mind so that all I need to really go think about is, okay, I know where my lighting is now because I've done a very quick gesture, I suppose, of the light that I want, right? Like I know where it would fall on the forms. Now my job at this stage now is just to figure out, okay, well, what does that look like? Even though now I know like right here, how's that go? Well, probably wraps up like this. Follow that same contour, right? As you can see, I'm kind of bringing it back down because that's sort of like what I'm thinking it would feel like. But I know everything's on the inside because that explosion that's happening behind the characters, right? And just imagine this is like sort of like how you were painting with the brush and the tools you were using there. So I can go ahead and go, okay, so that whole shoulder here, it's most likely going to be covered in shadow. And then this one, well, how much of this is kind of going to get covered in shadow? I don't know. Here, maybe we're going to bring it in a little bit like that. But do you kind of see how I'm adding and sort of trying to figure out the initial guesswork we had. Do you kind of see that, right? So like, let's say we had that. I can turn it off and go, okay, well that's my shadow. Imagine this is like polished shadow, you know, and then we can, you can change your opacities and stuff if you think it's too dark and stuff. And I recommend doing this. So like for everybody else that maybe doesn't draw in that way, let's say you're doing this in traditional comic book fashion, like what we normally do on this channel. So again, we've got everything where it would be. So what I'm going to do is just start carving out where I think the black should be here, right? So I know I don't want to cover up his face too much because this character is, I need to see his. Well, actually, no. Let's do it right. Let's do it proper. So I like to just carve out these shapes. So I know this is all going to be black in here. And we put that X that you guys always see Inker's doing. And we can come in here because I know it's going to come down his face like that. All this is going to get blacked out. I'm figuring all this out because of the planes of the face, right? So all this is going to get black. We're just going to do the face and the neck area here. And I'm still following what we have underneath, okay? So we'll turn that off, and you're going to see right away like how much detail we're going to lose here. Why is this not working? There we go. Right, like I know this looks like, oh, where does his whole face go? Right, and then you can come in here and start doing your rendering and touching things up, right? Like maybe this doesn't make much sense, so I'm going to go ahead and color the whole mustache black except the bottom part where the light's coming from behind. We can go ahead and add our rendering in here, fix up some of the shadows, or add to, remove some. Yeah, so, oh, and then, right, because we're working digital, we can also come back in and draw in white. Everything there. Right, so I mean, I hope that helped you guys out. I recommend doing that just this step. And again, just to highlight one more time what it was, is make a bunch of layers, or one layer, and quickly grab like a pretty big brush and just throw down some fat shadows. And the other thing you might want to think about is, okay, so this is where shadows would fall. Maybe I don't like drawing like thick effing shadows like that. Just be conscious of what you're doing, right? Be smart about this stuff. Like, let's assume, here, we'll do this. This will be the last one we'll do here, the last little example. Make a new layer above it. So we're going to be smart about this and go, okay, so that's where the light is. Maybe all I'm going to do, because I don't like drawing with heavy shadows, I'm going to just go, that's where my line weight is, because that's where shadows hit, right? So if I know all my shadows are all up above us here, I'm just going to use my example that I already have. And so up in here, okay, so all up in here is where I'm going to have my shadows hitting, or my line art, or my line weight, sorry, right? So we're coming up like this, all up on this side, because the light's coming from below, which means we're never going to do any of these bottom layers. And if you want, you could even do your rendering up here too. Blah, 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 blah. Lazy rendering. Right, and right away you're already getting some stuff that's a little bit different, got a little bit more punch to it. Okay, so thank you everybody. Take a little drink of water. Thank you. We had a little extra long show today. I do really appreciate everybody that stopped in today and provided art to critique. Thank you so much. The people that you're not talking to tonight and the people in the future that will watch these videos, they thank you as well. So maybe you're not able to make the stream. The stream is every every Wednesday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you can't make it and you'd want something critiqued, the critique shows are the start of every month. Whatever day that is, the very first Wednesday of the month, we do the critique show for everybody. So you could be like the few people that started off the show today. If you can't make it, by all means, please find a way to get in contact with me. It's very easy. If you absolutely have no idea how to get in contact with me, go to jonathanrector.com. Up at the top there, I believe there's a contact me button. Click that, and there's a list of places you can find me online. Don't be shy. Send a private message, anything like that. And please, please don't just send artwork. Please include, like, even in the briefest of summary, saying like, I need help with anatomy. Something like people did today. Okay, that way I can try to get you in on the next show, and you can watch it when we re-upload it. So again, thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate it. And yeah, I don't know what else to say except one more thank you. I really do appreciate it. I want to say thank you again to everybody that supports me on Patreon. If you're interested, head on over to patreon.com/Jonathan Rector. I know I continually say this, but this is the last month before the end of the year. Well, this, right? The end of the year is coming up very quickly, so I'm going to be making a few posts this month because next year, I've like everybody likes to do, right? It's the start of the year. You want to start fresh, and I want to start it off with a bang, and hopefully you guys will be in on that as well. So by all means, check that out. See what you guys think. So until next week, you guys, like usual, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.